Hello, my name is Kshitij Srivastava, and this is Kshitij reading scripts and stories basically. So, today I'm going to read a screenplay called When Harry Met Sally, and this screenplay is written by Nora Ephron, Rob Reiner, Andrew Shainman, and the film is directed by Rob Reiner. और ये मेरी फेवरेट फिल्म है और मैं इसको कई बार देख चुका हूँ. जब भी मैं बोर होता हूँ तब मैं इस फिल्म को देखता हूँ. मतलब हम तुम पिक्चर आपने देखी होगी, वो भी इस पे बेस्ड है. खैर एनीवेज, टाइम वेस्ट किए बिना हम इस स्क्रिप्ट को रीड करना शुरू करते हैं और समझते हैं कि स्क्रिप्ट कितनी अच्छी लिखी थी. क्योंकि फिल्म तो आपने देखी होगी, काफ़ी अच्छी थी, पर स्क्रिप्ट कैसी है वो अब हमको जाके पता चलेगा. और ये जो स्क्रिप्ट रीडिंग सेशन है ये मैं इसलिए चला रहा हूँ ताकि जो लोग स्क्रिप्ट नहीं पढ़ पाते हैं, जिनको टाइम नहीं मिल पाता है या वो उतना पेशेंस बिल्डअप नहीं है, जो अच्छे रीडर नहीं है, उनके लिए कि एटलीस्ट वो पूरा स्क्रीन प्ले साथ में मेरे देख सकते हैं. आपको सिर्फ बैठना है साथ में और पूरा स्क्रीन प्ले देखना है. मैं साथ में आपके पढ़ूंगा और आप मेरे साथ पढ़ सकते हैं उसको. तो इट विल बी एजुकेशनल थिंग. तो आप पढ़िए मेरे साथ. व्हेन हैरी मेट सैली. Fade in documentary footage, scene 1 of an older couple, a man and a woman. They are sitting together on a love seat looking straight at the camera. The documentary dialogue that follows is meant only as an indication. The movie will use real people, not actors, and we'll be hearing their actual stories, which will be similar to the ones indicated here. Man, I was sitting with my friend, author Kornblum, and in a restaurant. It was a horn and hearted cafeteria, and they don't have them anymore. And this girl walked in. He points to the woman beside him, and I turned to Arthur and I said, Arthur, you see that girl? I'm going to marry her. And 2 weeks later, we were married, and it's 50 years later, and we are still married. Fade out, fade in. Exterior University of Chicago campus day card 10 years ago. A couple in a clinch. The young man involved is named Harry Burns. ये हमारा हीरो है. He's a 26 years old, just graduated from law school, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt. He's kissing a young woman named Amanda. She has long straight hair that she irons. She's about 20. The embrace is fairly melodramatic. They pull back to look at one another. Amanda, I love you. Harry, I love you. They begin to kiss again. A car pulls up right beside them, stops, sits there. Driving the car is Sally Albright. ये हमारी हीरोइन है. She's 21 years old. She's very pretty, although not necessarily in an obvious way. She sits there waiting for the kiss to end. It doesn't end. She clears her throat. They don't hear her. She shifts position and accidentally, on purpose, hits the car horn, which beeps and startles Amanda and Harry into breaking off their clinch. Amanda sees Sally and she and Harry move over to the car. Amanda, oh, hi Sally. Sally, this is Harry Burns. Harry, this is Sally Albright. Harry, nice to meet you. They shake hands. Sally to Harry, you want to drive the first shift? Harry, no, no, you are there already. You can start. Harry looks meaningfully at Amanda. Then he starts to put his stuff, a duffel bag, a box of records, into the back seat of the car where Sally's stuff is: two suitcase, stereo speakers, a guitar, boxes of books, a small TV. Amanda, call me. Harry, I will call as soon as I get there. Amanda, call me from the road. Harry, I'll call before that. Harry and Amanda exchange longing looks outside the car. Amanda, I love you. Harry, I love you too. They kiss again. Sally sits waiting. She hits the car horn again. Harry and Amanda break apart. Sally, sorry. Harry gets into the car, and as it pulls away, he and Amanda exchange more I love yous and I will call yous and goodbyes. Exterior, Chicago street, day. As the car heads towards whichever highway is relevant, city traffic. Sally driving, Harry in the passenger seat. Interior, car, day. Harry takes out a bunch of grapes, starts to eat them. Sally, I have this all figured out. It's an 18-hour trip which breaks down to 6 shifts of 3 hours each, or alternatively, we could break it down by mileage. There's a map on the visor. I have marked it to show the locations where we change shifts. You can do 3 hours. Harry offering her one grape. Sally, no, I don't like to eat between meals. Harry spits a grape seed out the window, which doesn't happen to be down. Harry, I will roll down the window. After a lengthy silence, Harry, I hope this isn't going to be one of those trips with a lot of long, awkward silences. Sally, me too. A long, awkward silence. Harry, why don't you tell me the story of your life? Sally, the story of my life? Harry, we have got 18 hours to kill before we get to New York. Sally, the story of my life isn't even going to get us out of Chicago. I mean, nothing has happened to me yet. That's why I'm going to New York. Harry, so something can happen to you. Sally, yes, like what? Like I'm going to do, like I'm going to do journalism school. like I am trying to go to journalism school and become a reporter. So you can write about things that happen to other people. That's one way to look at it. Suppose nothing happens to you. Suppose you live there your whole life and nothing happens, and you will never meet anyone and you never become anything, and finally you die one of those New York deaths where nobody even notices for 2 weeks until the smell drifts out into the hallway. Sally looks over at Harry. Who am I stuck in this car with? She looks back at the road. Exterior car traveling short. Day. Turned as the car turns onto the highway. Sally voiceover. Amanda mentioned you had a dark side. That's what drew her to me. Interior car day. Sally. Your dark side. Harry. Yeah, why? Why don't you have a dark side? No, you are probably one of those cheerful people who dots her eyes with little hearts. Sally defensively. I have just as much of a dark side as the next person. Harry pleased with himself. Oh really? When I get a new book, I read the last page first. That way, if I die before I finish, I know how it comes out. That's my friend is the dark side. Sally, irritated now. It doesn't mean you are deep or anything. I mean, I'm basically a happy person. Harry, cheerfully. So am I. Sally, I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. Of course you don't. You are too busy being happy. Do you think about death, Sally? Yes, sure you do. A fleeting thought that drifts in and out of the transform of your mind. I spend hours, I spend days, Sally interrupting, and you think this makes you a better person? Harry, look, when the shit comes down, I'm going to be prepared and you are not. That's all I'm saying. Sally, and in the meantime, you're going to ruin your whole life waiting for it. After a beat, what are you going to do in New York? Harry, I don't know. I just graduated from law school, but I never really thought I was going to be a lawyer. I see it as a jumping off point. Sally, you should be a lawyer, the kind that does wills. I think you'd be really good at explaining to people they are going to die. On Harry's reaction. Exterior car day dissolved to the car tooling along a beautiful stretch of highway. Exterior highway day. Sally voiceover. Time. The car pulls off the road onto the shoulder. Sally and Harry get out of and switch seats. Harry drives now and the car pulls away, leaving rubber and dust. Exterior car, exciting industrial magic car. Exterior car, highway, late afternoon. The car is now on a surface road heading towards a motel diner complex. Harry is driving. Sally's in the passenger seat. Harry, OS, he doesn't want her to stay. That's why he puts her on the plane. Sally, I don't think she wants to stay. Of course she wants to stay. Wouldn't you rather be with Humphrey Bogart than that other guy? Sally, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in Casablanca married to a man who runs a bar. That probably sounds very snobbish to you, but I don't. Harry, you'd rather have a passionless marriage, Sally, and be first lady of Czechoslovakia, Harry, than live with the man you have had the greatest sex of your life with just because he owns a bar and that's all he does. The car stops in front of the diner, which is straight out of the 50s. Sally, yes, and so would any woman in her right mind. Women are very practical, even Ingrid Bergman, which is why she gets on that plane at the end of the movie. Harry getting out of the car. Oh, I understand. Sally, what? Harry, nothing. Harry crosses towards the diner. Sally follows after him. Sally, what? Interior diner. As Harry and Sally come in the door, our hostess is waiting. Harry, obviously you haven't had great sex yet. To the hostess. Table for two. Right this way. Yes, I have. No, you haven't. He crosses away from her towards the table. It just so happens I have had plenty of good sex. This doesn't go unheard by the hostess in other diners. Sally walks to the table, sits down. Harry, with whom? What? Have you had this good sex? Embarrassed. I am not going to tell you that. Fine, don't tell me. A long silence. Maybe they both look at the menu. Maybe they just sit there. Gordon. Sheldon? No, I'm sorry, you didn't have great sex with Sheldon. I did too. No, a Sheldon can do your taxes. If you need a root canal, he's your man. But between the sheets is not Sheldon's strong suit. Sort of in a girl's voice. I love you, Sheldon. Do it to me, Sheldon. I can't get enough of you, Sheldon. It doesn't work. A waitress approaches the table. Waitress, what can I get you? I will have the number 3. What kind of bread do you want on? Surprise me. The waitress turns to Sally. You know what I'd like is the apple pie a la mode. Writing apple a la mode. But I'd like the pie heated and I don't want the ice cream on top. I want it on the side. And I'd like strawberry instead of vanilla if you have it. If not, then no ice cream, just whipped cream. But only if it's real. If it's out of can, then nothing. Waitress, not even the pie? No, just the pie, but then not heated. As the waitress leaves, Harry stares in disbelief at Sally. Sally continuing, what? Nothing. So how come you broke up with Sheldon? How do you know we broke up? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be with me. You would be with Sheldon, the Wonder Schlong. First of all, I'm not with you. Second of all, it's none of your business why we broke up. You are right. You are right. I don't want to know. After a beat, Sally, if you must know, it was because he was very jealous and I had these days of the week underpants. Harry makes a buzzer sound. Judges ruling on this. Days of the week underpants, Sally. Yes, they had the days of the week on them. I thought they were sort of funny, and one day he said to me, "You never wear Sunday." He got all suspicious. Where was Sunday? Where had I left Sunday? And I told him, but he didn't believe me. Harry, what? They don't make Sunday. Why not? Because of God. And that's what broke you up. Yes, how many men have you slept with? I'm not going to tell you that. Okay, don't tell me. A beat, Sally. Two. You have been with two people and you are telling me based on two people, you know whether or not you have had great sex. How many have you? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. Is it between 0 and 3, 4 and 10, or 10 and 100? 10 and 100. Is it closer to 10 or closer to 100? 10. The waitress brings their food as they eat. Exterior diner, basically it dissolves to exterior diner night reestablish, interior diner dusk. They are finishing their meal. The check arrives. Sally figures out her portion of the bill. She notices Harry just staring at her. Sally, thinking she might have some food on her face, she nervously wipes. What do I have? You are a very attractive person. Oh, thank you. Amanda never said you were so attractive. Maybe she doesn't think I'm attractive. It's not a matter of opinion. Empirically, you are attractive. Harry, Amanda is my friend. Sally gets up, drops some money on the table and crosses away. Harry also leaves some money and follows her. So you are going with her. So you are coming on to me. No, I wasn't. Harry continuing, what? Can't a man say a woman is attractive without it being a come on? She stares at him, then exits the diner and heads for the car. Continuing, all right, let's just say for the sake of argument, it was a come on. Okay, what do you want me to do? I take it back. All right, I take it back. You can't take it back. Why not? It's already out there. An awkward pause. Harry, oh geez, what are we supposed to do now? Call the cops? It's already out there. Sally, just let it lie, okay? She quickly gets in the car and unlocks his door. He gets in the car. Harry, right, let it lie. That's my policy. Let it lie. Beat. So you want to spend the night in the motel? Continuing, see what I did? I didn't let it lie. Harry, I said I would and then I didn't. Harry, I went the other way. Harry, yes, we are just going to be friends, okay? Yes, great, friends, best thing. As the car starts up and pulls out, cut to interior car night, a long silence. Harry, you realize of course that we can never be friends. Sally, what do you mean? What I'm saying, and this is not a common in any way, shape or form, is that men and women can't be friends. The sex part always gets in the way. That's not true. I have a number of men friends and there's no sex involved. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. You only think you do. You are saying I'm having sex with these men without my knowledge. No, I'm saying they all want to have sex with you. They do not. They do too. They do not do too. How do you know? Because no man can be friends with a woman he finds attractive. He always wants to have sex with her. Sally, so you are saying a man can be friends with a woman he finds unattractive? Harry, no, you pretty much want to have sex with them too. Sally, what if they don't want to have sex with you? Harry, doesn't matter, the sex thing is already out there, so the friendship is ultimately doomed, and that's the end of the story. Sally, well, I guess we are not going to be friends then. Harry, I guess not. It's too bad. You are the only person I knew in New York. Dissolved to exterior New York skyline dawn as the car comes over the George Washington Bridge. A gorgeous day. Dissolved to exterior New York street corner day downtown near Washington Square. The car pulls up and Harry hops out grabbing his stuff. Harry, well, it was nice knowing you. Sally, yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, thanks for the ride. Sally, you are welcome. Sally notes, Harry notes an awkward moment. Sally holds out her hand. They shake. Well, have a nice life. Harry, you too. Harry starts to walk off as she drives off. Fade in. Documentary footage. Another older couple sitting together on the same love seat we saw earlier. Woman, we fell madly in love in high school. Man, we were high school sweethearts. Woman, I just said that. Didn't I just say that? But after our junior year, his parents moved away. Man, I never forget her. Man, I never forgot her. Woman, he never forgot me. Man, her face burned itself on my brain. 34 years later, I see her coming out of Toffinities. Woman, we looked at each other and it was as if not one day went by. Man, she looked as beautiful as when she was 16 years old. Woman, he looked the same. He looked exactly the same to me. Continued. Man, and we haven't been apart one day since then. Woman, not one day. Fade out, fade in. Interior La Guardia Airport day. It's 5 years later. A couple in a clinch. The woman is Sally at 26. She looks great. She's a stylish young woman. She is kissing a very attractive man with a beard, although it's not that easy to see him at the moment. His name is Joey. Harry is coming down the hallway of the airline terminal. He's wearing a suit and tie and trench coat. He has a kind of attractive but rumpled demeanor. He notices the couple kissing, goes past them, then stops, backs up. He recognizes them. They are still kissing. Harry comes closer, peers at the two of them from slightly too close. It's not easy to see either of their faces. Finally, Sally and Joey becomes aware that someone is standing nearby, and they stop kissing to look at Harry. Harry, Joey, I thought it was you. Harry burns. Harry, Joe, how are you? Joey holds out his hand. They shake. Harry, how you are doing? Fine, fine. I thought it was you. Beat, still with the DA's office? I switched over to the other side. What about you? I'm working for a small company, political consulting. Joey nods, Harry nods, an awkward pause. Sally just standing there wondering if Harry remembers her. Joey, oh Harry, this is Sally Albright. Harry Burns, we used to live in the same building. Harry, he knows he's seen her someplace but he can't remember where. Hi, Sally nods, Harry continuing. Well, great to see you. See you around. Harry starts down the long corridor for his plane. Joey and Sally look at each other. Sally, thank God he couldn't place me. I drove from college to New York with him 5 years ago and it was the longest night of my life. Joey, what happened? He made a pass at me, and when I said no, he was going with a friend of mine. Oh, God, I can't remember her name. Don't get involved with me, Joey. I'm 26 years old and I can't even remember the name of a person I was such good friends with that I wouldn't get involved with a boyfriend. Sorry. Joey, so what happened? Sally, when? Joey, he made a pass at you and you said no? Sally, I said we just can't be friends, and this part I remember, and he said men and women couldn't really be friends. Joey kisses her again. Sally continued, do you think it's true? Joey, no. Sally, do you have any women friends, just friends? Joey, no, but I will get one if it's important to you. Sally, Amanda Reese, that was her last name, thank God. Another kiss. Joey, I will miss you, Beat, I love you. Sally, she loves hearing this. You do? Joey, yes, Sally, I love you. Interior airplane day. The plane is in flight en route from New York to Washington. Sally is in the middle seat in a crowded all-coach plane. She has the New York Times on her lap, but she is staring into the middle distance, a little smile on her face. There's a man on the aisle next to her. In the row in back of her in the aisle seat is Harry. His head pops up. Sally starts to read the newspaper. The man on the aisle looks up at Harry, who is still looming over them, trying to place Sally. Harry pops down. Sally starts to read again. Harry pops up again, pops back down. The stewardess comes from the aisle with the drink card, asks Sally for her drink order. Sally, do you have Bloody Mary mix? Stewardess, yes. She starts to pour. Sally, no wait, here's what I want. Regular tomato juice, not too much ice, and fill it with up about 3/4 and then add a splash of the Bloody Mary mix, just a splash. Harry's head starts to rise again. Sally continuing, and little piece of lime, but on the side. Harry, the University of Chicago, right? Sally, yes. Harry pops down. He pops right back up. Harry, do you look this good at the University of Chicago? Sally, no. Harry, he's being mischievous here. Did we ever? Reaction from man on aisle, laughing. She can't believe him. No, Jesus, to man on aisle. We drove from Chicago to New York the day after graduation. The man on the aisle has been listening and watching all this. The man on the aisle with some irritation. Would you two like to sit together? Before Sally can object, Harry, great. Harry and the man on the aisle change seats and Harry sits down next to Sally. Harry, you were a friend of, oh geez, he can't remember her name. Sally, Amanda's. I can't believe you can't remember her name. Sally, oh Harry, what do you mean I can remember? Amanda, right? Amanda Rice. Sally, Reese, right? That's what I said. What happened to her? I have no idea. You have no idea? You were a good friend of hers. We didn't make it because you were such good friends. You went with her. Was it worth it? This sacrifice for a friend you haven't even kept in touch with? Harry, you may not believe this, but I never considered not sleeping with you a sacrifice. Fair enough. After a beat, you were going to be a gymnast, a journalist. That's what I said. So did you? I am a journalist. I work at the news. Great. Then you are with Joey. That's great. You guys have been together. What? 3 weeks? A month? How do you know? You take someone to the airport. It's clearly the beginning of the relationship. That's why I have never taken anyone to the airport at the beginning of a relationship. Tell you why? Because eventually things move on and you don't take someone to the airport. And I never wanted anyone to be able to say to me, how come you never take me to the airport anymore? Sally, it's amazing. You look like a normal person, but actually you are the angel of death. Are you going to marry him? We have only known each other a month. Besides, neither one of us is looking to get married right now. I am getting married. You are? Matter of factly, yes. You are? Yep. Who is she? Helen Hilson. She's a lawyer. She's keeping her name. Shakes her head. You are getting married? Smiles. What's so funny about it? I'm just so optimistic of you. You'd be amazed what falling madly in love can do for you. That's wonderful, Harry. It's nice to see you embracing life in this manner. Besides, you just get to a certain point where you get tired of the whole thing. What whole thing? The whole life of a single guy thing. You know, you meet someone, you have the safe lunch where you decide you like each other enough to move on to dinner. You go dancing, you do the white man's over by, then you go back to her place, you have sex, and the minute you finish, you know what goes through your head. Shelly shakes her head. No. How long do I have to lie here and hold her before I can get up and go home? Is 30 seconds enough? That's what you're thinking. Is that true? Yeah, all men think like that. How long do you like to be held afterwards? All night? Right, that's the problem. Somewhere between 30 seconds and all night is your problem. Sally, I don't have a problem. Yes, you do. The flight attendant announces that everyone should fasten seat belts in preparation for landing in Washington, D.C. Exterior National Airport Day as the plane lands. Interior National Airport Day. Harry and Sally are on a moving sidetrack. Harry, Pete, you staying over? Sally, yes. Would you like to have dinner? Sally looks at him a little suspiciously. Continued, what? Just friends? I thought you didn't believe men and women could be friends. When did I say that? On the ride to New York? No, I remember. Yes, that's right. They can't be friends. Figuring this out. Unless both of them are involved with other people, then they can. This is an amendment to the earlier rule. If the two people are in relationships, the pressure of possible involvement is lifted. Thinking this over, although that doesn't work either, because what happens is the person you are involved with doesn't understand why you need to be friends with the person you are friends with. Like, it must mean something's missing from your relationship and you have to go outside to get it. And when you say no, it's not true, there's nothing missing from your relationship, from our relationship, sorry, the person you are involved with accuses you of being secretly attracted to the person you are just friends with, which you probably are. Let's face it. Who the hell are we kidding? Which brings us back to the original rule before the amendment, which is men and women can't be friends. So where does that leave us, Harry? Yes, Sally. Goodbye. Okay. They look at each other and shake hands. Though they have said goodbye, they are now in that awkward place of still going in the same direction. After a beat, Harry, I'm going to stop walking for a minute and let you get ahead. Fade out, fade in. Documentary footage. Another older couple sitting on a love seat looking at the camera. Man, we got married 50 years ago. We were married 3 years. We got a divorce. Woman, no one got divorced and then unless you were miserable. Not like now. You got a little upset, you get a divorce. So then I married Marjorie. But first you lived with Barbara. Right, Barbara. But I didn't marry Barbara. I married Marjorie. And then I got a divorce. My brother's a lawyer. I got a rate. Then I married Katie, the shortest one of all. Less than a year, another divorce. So then I was single. I crammed in a lot of living. I got it out of my system. Don't forget Roberta. Miserable to be reminded of Roberta. And then we got married again. 45 years to the day after our first marriage. But I never married anybody in between. I waited. I knew. Fade out, fade in. Exterior, New York Street Day. It's 5 years later. Sally walking down the street to a restaurant like Petaluma. She looks even prettier now. She's wearing a loose blouse, full skirt, boots. Exterior, New York restaurant with view. Day. Two women, Mary and Alice, at a table for three. Mary is a dark-haired, dark-eyed beauty. Alice is cute and plump, a married lady. Sally comes in and sits down as the others finish their drink order to the waiter. Sally, sorry I'm late. To waiter, here's what I want. I want a Campari and soda, and here is how I want it. I want the Campari in a glass with ice and the soda on the side, but in a bottle. I don't want the soda in a glass. I want to mix it myself. As Sally's ordering, Mary, so I looked through his pockets. Okay, Alice. Mary, why do you look through his pockets? Sally's done with her order now. Do you know what I found? What? They just bought a dining room table. He and his wife just went out and spent $1,600 on a dining room table. Where? The point isn't where, Alice. The point is he's never going to leave her. So what else is new? You have known this for 2 years. You're right. You're right, Plumley. I know you're right. Why can't you find someone single? When I was single, I knew lots of nice single men, but there must be someone. Sally found someone. Sally got the last good one. Matter of factly, Joey and I broke up. What? When? Monday. You waited 3 days to tell us? You mean Joey is available? For God's sake, Mary, don't you have any feelings about this? She's obviously upset. I am not upset. We have been growing apart for quite a while. Mary, horrified. But you were a couple. You were together. You had someone to go places with. You had a date on national holidays. Sally, I just said to myself, you deserve more than this. You are 31 years old. Mary, Alice, together. And the clock is ticking, Sally. The clock doesn't really start to tick till you are 36. Good God. You are in such great shape. Well, I have had a few days to get used to it and I feel okay, good, then you are ready. Mary takes her Rolodex out of her satchel and starts to look through it. Alice asks, really, Mary? How else do you think you do it? She flips through the Rolodex and pulls out a card. Mary continuing, I've got the perfect guy. Mary to Alice, you go out with him. Mary, I've got someone. Alice, you have got someone else also has. Mary, referring to the name on the card, I don't happen to find him attractive, but you might. To Alice, indicating Sally, she doesn't have a problem with chins. Mary, I'm not ready yet. I thought you just said you were over him. I am over him, but I'm in a mourning period. Pete, who is it? Alex Anderson. You fixed me with him 6 years ago. Okay, pulls another card. Ken Dalman. He's been married for over a year. Really? Married? Mary takes Ken Dalman's Rolodex card and dog ears a corner of it and places it in a section at the back of the box. Then she pulls out another card. Mary continuing, wait, I got it. Look, there's no point in my going out with someone I might really like if I met him at the right time, but who right now has no chance of being anything to me but a transitional man. Okay, but don't wait too long. Do you remember David Warsaw? His wife left him and everyone said, give him some time, don't move in too fast. And 6 months later, he was dead. What are you saying? I should marry someone right away in case he's about to die? At least you can say you are married. I'm saying the right man for you might be out there right now, and if you don't grab him, someone else will. And you will have to spend the rest of your life knowing that someone else is married to your husband. Exterior Shea Stadium day. A wave is in the progress. It sweeps around the stadium and passes by Harry and his friend Jess sitting in the second deck surrounded by Matt's fan. It's fall. They are both wearing jeans and windbreakers. Harry is very despondent. Jess, when did this happen? Harry, Friday. Helen comes home. She says, I don't know if I want to be married anymore. You know, like it's the institution, like it's nothing personal, like it's just something she is thinking about in a kind of casual way. I'm calm. I say, why don't we think about it? Take some time. Don't rush into things. Next day, she says she's thought about it. She wants a child separation and she just wants to try it. She says, we can still date. She says, like this is supposed to cushion the blow. I mean, I got married so I could stop dating. So I don't see where we can still date is a big incentive, since as far as I'm concerned, the last thing you want to do is date your wife who is supposed to love you, which is what I'm saying to her when it crosses my mind. Maybe she doesn't. So I say, don't you love me anymore? And you know what she says? I don't know if I have ever loved you. I don't know if I've ever loved you. A wave comes through the crowd and Harry and Jess stand and wave their hands. Jess, oh, that's harsh. They sit down. Jess, you don't bounce back from that right away. Thanks, Jess. No, I'm a writer. I know dialogue that's particularly harsh. And then she says she just found out that somebody at her office is going to South America. She can sublet his apartment. I can't believe it. I can't believe this. I say, and the doorbell rings. I can sublet his apartment. The words are still in the air. The words are still hanging there like in a little balloon connected to her mouth, like a cartoon. Yes, yeah. And I get to the door and the movers are there, and I'm starting to get suspicious. And I say, when did you call these movers? She's not answering. I look at the movers and say, when did this lady book you for this gig? And they are standing there, 3 huge guys. Right, one of them is wearing a t-shirt that says don't fuck with Mr. Zero, and I say, when did you make this arrangement? And she says, a week ago. And I say, you have known this for a whole week and you didn't tell me? And she says, I didn't want to ruin your birthday. A second wave comes through and Harry and Jess stand and wave their hands. Yes, you are saying Mr. Zero knew you were getting a divorce a week before you did? Harry, Mr. Zero knew. Geez, I haven't told you the bad part. What could be worse than Mr. Zero knowing? It's all a lie. She's in love with another guy, some tax attorney. She moved in with him. How did you find out? I followed her and I stood outside the building. Harry, that's so humiliating. Tell me. Standing on the street, the ultimate schmuck. Pete, I knew it would happen. The whole time I knew, even though we were happy, it was just an illusion. One day she'd kick the shit out of me. Marriages don't break up on account of infidelity. It's just a symptom that something else is wrong. Oh, really? Well, that symptom is fucking my wife. Another wave comes through and they stand up. They sit down. Jess, at least you got the apartment. Harry just looks at him. Jess, what? Interior Shakespeare and Company day. Sally and Mary standing in the bookstore in a section called Personal Relationships. A shelf full of books. Mary is looking at something like Smart Woman, Foolish Choices. Sally is looking at something like Safe Sex in Dangerous Times. Mary, so I just happened to see this American Express bill. What do you mean you just happened to see it? Well, he was shaving and there it was in his briefcase. What if he came out and saw you looking through his briefcase? You are missing the point. I am telling you what I found. Pete, he spent $120 on a nightgown for his wife. Pete, I don't think he's ever going to leave her. No one thinks he's ever going to leave her. You're right. I know you're right. Mary looks up for a moment for a new book, sees something. Mary, someone is staring at you in personal growth. Sally glances over to the personal growth section. There's Harry. Sally, I know him. You'd like him. He's married. Who is he? Harry Burns. He's a political consultant. He's cute. You think he's cute? How do you know he's married? Because the last time I saw him, he was getting married. When was that? 6 years ago. So he might not be married anymore. Also, he's obnoxious. This is just like in the movies. Remember, like in The Lady Vanishes, where she says to him, "You are the most obnoxious man I have ever met," correcting to her, the most hateful, and then they fell madly in love. Also, he never remembers me. Sally Albright. Hi, Harry. I thought it was you. It is. This is Mary. Was Mary. Mary is exiting down the stairs. She waves. Sally turns back to Harry. She shrugs. How you doing? Fine. Oh, fine. How's Joey? Fine. I hear he's fine. You're not with Joey anymore. We just broke up. Oh, gee, that's too bad. Yeah, well, yeah. What about you? I'm fine. How is married life? Not so good. I'm getting a divorce. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Beat. When did this happen? Couple of weeks ago. That's right. When Joey and I broke up. Isn't that amazing? Not really. Everybody in New York breaks up this time of year. Maybe it's the pressure of Halloween. Yeah, you never know what to go as. What happened? She left me. She fell in love. She fell in love with a tax attorney. A Sheldon. A Sheldon. Remembering. Oh yeah, right. Well, Ira. Actually, but it's the same. I'm sorry, Harry. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? What happened with you guys? Sally and Harry having coffee or maybe a glass of wine. When Joey and I started seeing each other, we wanted exactly the same thing. We wanted to live together, but we weren't going to get married because every time everyone we knew got married, it ruined their relationship. They practically never had sex again. It's true. It's one of the secrets no one ever tells you. I would sit around with my girlfriends who had kids. Well, actually, my one girlfriend who had kids, Alice, and she would complain about how she and Gary never did it anymore. She didn't even complain about it now that I think about it. She just said it matter of factly. They were up all night. They were both exhausted all the time. The kids just took every sexual impulse they had out of them. And Joey and I used to talk about it and say, we are so lucky we have this wonderful relationship. We can have sex on the kitchen floor and not worry about the kids walking in. We can fly off to Rome on a moment's notice. And then one day I was taking Alice, little girl, for the afternoon. I promised to take her to the circus, and we were in a cab playing I Spy. I spy a lamppost, I spy a mailbox, and she looked out the window, and there was this man and this woman with two little kids, and the man had one of the kids on his shoulders. And Alice's little girl said, I spy a family, and I started to cry. I just started crying, and I went home and I said, the thing is, Joey, we never do fly off to Rome on a moment's notice. Harry, what about the kitchen floor? Not once. It's this very cold and hard Mexican ceramic tile. Anyway, we talked about it for a long time, and I said, this is what I want, and he said, well, I don't. And I said, I guess it's over, and he left. And the truth is, I feel really fine. I'm over him. I really am over him. That was it for him, and that was the most he could give. And every time I think about it, I'm more and more convinced I did the right thing. Harry, you sound really healthy. Not totally. Yeah. Cut to exterior, 77th Street walk, dusk. Harry and Sally walking together. The sun is setting. Sally, at least I got the apartment. Harry, everyone says that to me too. But what's so hard about getting an apartment? You read the obituaries, you find out who died, you go see the doorman. They should put the two sections together, real estate and obituaries. Mr. Klein died today, leaving a wife, two children, and a spacious 3-bedroom apartment with a wood-burning fireplace. Sally laughing, a nice moment. When we first met, I really didn't like you that much. I didn't like you. You did too. You were just so uptight. How now you are much softer. I hate that kind of remark. I just hate it. It looks like a compliment, but really it's an insult, Okay, so you are still as hard as nails. I just didn't want to sleep with you, so you had to write it off a character flaw instead of dealing with the possibility that it might have something to do with you. What's the statute of limitations on apologies? 10 years. Oh, I can just get in under the wire. Sally smiles. Then after a beat, she makes the smallest of moves. Would you like to have dinner with me sometime? Harry, not knowing quite how to take this. Are we becoming friends now? Well, I accepting their new status. I guess we could. Harry, a woman friend. This is amazing. You may be the first attractive woman I have not wanted to sleep with in my entire life. Sally, slightly rejected. That's wonderful, Harry. As they continue to walk along, we fade out. Fade in. Documentary footage, a series of quick cuts of different older couples, each of them sitting on a love seat and looking at the camera. First older couple, man, she was wearing a white dress with little daisies on it. Second older couple, woman, he had a Borsalino hat. Third older couple, a bright red coat with black buttons. Fourth older couple, woman, a blue suit. He told me after it was the first suit he got from a real tailor. Fifth older couple. Man, in her hair she had a white flower, a camellia, fade out, fade in, a tight shot of one of those toy felt birds that somehow is able to miraculously deep keep dunking its beak into a glass of water. Wider to reveal Harry is sitting in his office staring blankly at this ornithological phenomenon. As Harry stares, we hear the sound of a phone ringing. It is picked up by Sally. Sally, over the shoulder. OS, hello. You sleeping? No, I was watching Casablanca. What channel? 11. Got it. As Harry continues to stare at the bird, we hear a few lines of dialogue from Casablanca, of all the gin joints, etc. As the Casablanca dialogue continues, we cut to Harry's apartment. Day. Harry is trying to hang a picture in what is an otherwise virtually empty apartment. He checks the picture for placement against the wall. Harry, now you are telling me you would be happier with Victor Laszlo than with Humphrey Bogart? Holding his finger on the spot, he gently taps the nail into the wall. Sally, when did I say that? When we drove to New York? I never said that. I would never said that. Harry gives the nail one more tap and a big chunk of plaster comes out of the wall. Harry surveys it, then decides to leave the picture against the wall on the floor. He walks away. Cut to in Harry's apartment. Day. Harry is sitting in his one chair trying to read a book. He has a thermometer in his mouth. He can't concentrate. He keeps reading the same paragraph over and over. Finally, he flips to the last page and reads, Sally, have you been sleeping? Not great. Maybe I'm coming down with something. Last night I was up at 4 in the morning watching Leave It to Beaver in Spanish, imitating Buena Diaz, Senora Clever, Donde Está Wallace Y. Theodore as himself. I'm not well. Through the following, we see a series of shots showing Sally busily typing in her office, Sally shopping in Bloomingdale, Sally tap dancing in her studio, Sally picking up groceries, Sally fixing dinner, chopping, setting table, being good to herself. Sally, OS, I went to bed at 7:30 last night. I haven't done that since the 3rd grade. Harry, that's the good thing about depression. You get your rest. I'm not depressed. Oh, okay, fine. Oh, put on 23. It's the new talk show. How can you watch that? What? You don't find it interesting watching naked people discussing insider trading? I guess my scope is limited. ESPN. I am there. What's the deal with arena football? What? It's good. If it catches on, there's no telling where it could lead. Arena gold, arena catching. Cut to Harry and Sally walking out of a movie theater down the street. It's a day. Harry, do you still sleep on the same side of the bed? I did for a while, but now I'm pretty much using the whole bed. Good, that's great. I feel weird. God, that's great. I feel weird when just my leg wanders over. I miss her. Cut to interior Chinese restaurant night. Sally is going through a very detailed ordering session. The waiter is trying to keep up. Harry just stares. Sally, I don't miss him. I really don't. Not even a little. You know what I miss? I miss the idea of him. Maybe I only miss the idea of Helen. No, I miss the whole Helen. Cut to exterior street day. Harry and Sally are walking along. Sally spots a mailbox, stops, opens her purse and pulls out a stack of mail. She proceeds to place the mail in the box, one letter at a time, checking to see that each letter has safely entered the box. Harry stands impatiently waiting. Sally, I found this book that gives you some really good tips on how to enjoy being alone. Like what? Like never eat standing up, make a nice meal for yourself and sit at a table. Sounds good. As soon as I get a table, that's exactly what I will do. Harry's impatience with Sally's letter mailing has gotten the best of him. He impulsively grabs the remaining letters in her hand, opens the box, shoves them in and then hustles her off. Last scene of Casablanca. And now, in Sally's bedroom night. Sally in bed on the phone watching Casablanca on TV and talking to. In Harry's bedroom night. Harry in bed on the phone watching Casablanca. Cut back and forth or use split screen. Harry, Ingrid Bergman. Now, she is low maintenance. Low maintenance? Yeah, there are two kinds of women, high maintenance and low maintenance. And Ingrid Bergman is low maintenance. And LM definitely. Which one am I? The worst one, you are high maintenance, but you think you are low maintenance. I don't see that. You don't see that mimicking her. I will start with the house salad, but don't put the regular dressing on it. I will have the balsamic vinegar and oil instead, but on the side. And then the salmon with mustard sauce, but I want the sauce on the side. On the side is like a very big thing for you. Well, I just want it the way I want it. Right, high maintenance. Sally is smiling. Bogart says, Louise, this could be the beginning of a beautiful relationship. Harry, oh, best last line of a movie ever. As the movie ends, I am definitely coming down with something. Probably a 24-hour tumor. They are going around. You don't have a tumor. How do you know? If you are so worried, go see a doctor. No, he will tell me it's nothing. Are you going to be able to sleep? If not, I'll be okay. What will you do? I will stay up and moan. Wait, let me practice now. He starts moaning. Good night, Harry. Good night, Sally. As he continues to moan, they hang up. Fade out, fade in. Exterior, Lincoln Center, day. Harry and Sally walking past a Henry Moore sculpture. Harry, I dreamed I was making love and the Olympic judges were watching as usual. I nailed the compulsories and this is it, the finals. I get a 9.8 from the Canadian. I get a perfect 10 from the American. And my mother, dressed as an German, gives me a 5.6. You think there's any meaning to that? Cut to exterior Central Park Labor Day. Harry and Sally in the park on a gorgeous fall day. They are sharing a big pretzel. Sally, basically it is the same one I have had since I was 12. Harry, what happens? It's very embarrassing. Don't tell me. Okay, there's this guy. What does he look like? I don't know. He's sort of faceless. A faceless guy? Okay. Then what happens? He rips off my clothes. And then what? That's it? That's it? A faceless guy rips off your clothes and that's the sex fantasy you have been having since you were 12? Exactly the same. Sometimes I vary it a little. Which part of it do you vary? What I am wearing. Interior Metropolitan Museum, dusk. Harry and Sally are walking through the Egyptian temple exhibit. Harry, in a funny voice, I have decided for the rest of the day we are going to talk like this. Sally, trying to imitate him. Like this, funny voice. Repeat after me. Trying to imitate him. Funny. Repeat after me. May I have some pepper? May I have some pepper? Pepper, 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 pepper. Laughing and still trying. May I have some pepper on my paprikas? May I have some pepper on my paprikas? I think I will have some tomato juice. I think I will have some tomato juice. Do you want to go to a movie tonight? Do you want to go to a movie tonight? No, answer the question. Do you want to go to a movie tonight? In her regular voice, I'd love to, Harry, but I can't. Still in funny voice. What do you have? A hot date? As a matter of fact, I do. In his regular voice. Really? I was going to tell you, but I don't know. I felt strange about it. Why? I don't know. We have been so... Hey, it's fine with me. We are friends. I think it's great you have a date. You sure? Sure. Leaning in conspiratorially. Is that what you are wearing? Yeah, well, I don't know why. I think you should wear skirts more. You look good in skirts. I do? Yeah, you know, Harry, you should get out there too. In the funny voice again. No, I'm not ready. It's time. No, I can't. You should. Maybe I will. Interior Harry's apartment day. Harry and Sally are unrolling a new rug. Harry, it was the most uncomfortable night of my life. The first date back is always the toughest. You only had one date. How do you know it won't get worse? How much worse can it get than finishing dinner, having him reach over, pull a hair out of my head and start flossing with it at the table? You are talking dream date compared to my horror. It's gotta go this way. It started out fine. She was very nice person and we were just talking at this Ethiopian restaurant she wanted to go to. I was making some jokes like I didn't know they had food in Ethiopia. This will be a quick meal. We'll order the empty plates and leave. Nothing, not even a smile. So I downshift into a small talk and I ask her where she went to school and she says Michigan State, and it reminds me of Helen. And all of a sudden I'm in the middle of this massive anxiety attack and my heart's beating like a wild man and I'm sweating like a pig. Helen went to Michigan State. No, she went to Northwestern, but they are both Big Ten schools. Pete, I was so upset. I had to leave the restaurant. Harry, I think it takes a long time. It might be months before we are actually be able to enjoy going out with someone new. Yeah, and maybe even longer before we'll be able to go to bed with someone new. Well, I did go to bed with her. You went to bed with her? Yeah. Oh, is this too green? Omitted sections. Interior batting cage in Queen's Day. Harry and Jess with bats in hand as the machine waits for them to put in quarters. Jess, I don't understand this relationship. What do you mean? You enjoy being with her? Sorry. You enjoy being with her? Yes. You find her attractive? Yes. And you are not sleeping with her? No. What are you afraid of? You are afraid to let yourself be happy? Come on. Why can't you give me credit for this? This is the biggest step for me, Jess. Having a relationship with a woman that doesn't involve sex. I've never been able to do this. I feel like I'm growing. 2 9-year-olds are waiting to use the batting cage and are watching Harry and Jess just stand there. 9-year-old one. Are you finished batting? I got a whole pocket full of quarters and I was here first. Okay. You were not. Was too. Were not. Was too. Little creep back to Jess. Where was I? You were growing. Yes, it's very freeing. I can say anything to her. Are you saying you can say things to her you can't say to me? No, it's just different. It's a whole different perspective. I get a woman's point of view on things. She tells me about the men she goes out with, and I can talk to her about the woman I see. You tell her about other women. Yeah, like the other night I made love to a woman and it was so incredible. I took her to a place that wasn't human. She actually meowed. You made a woman meow? Yeah, that's the point. I can say these things to her, and the great thing is I don't have to lie because I'm not always thinking about how to get her into bed. I can just be myself. You made a woman meow? Exterior Carnegie Delicatessen Day establishing shot. Interior Carnegie Delicatessen Day. Harry and Sally each about to eat large pastrami sandwiches. Sally, so what do you do with these women? You So what do you do with these women? You just get up out of bed and leave. Sure, explain to me how you do it. What do you say? Take a bite of sandwich. I have an early meeting on an early haircut or an early squash game. You don't play squash. They don't know that. They just met me. That's disgusting. Takes a bite of sandwich. I know, I feel terrible. I'm so glad I never got involved with you. I just would have ended up being some lady you had to get out of bed and leave at 3 in the morning and go clean your endirons, and you don't even have a fireplace. Quite irritated now. Not that I wouldn't know, not that I would know this. Why are you getting so upset? This isn't about you. Yes, it is. You are a human affront to all women, and I am a woman. Look, I don't feel great about this, but I don't hear anyone complaining. Of course not. You are not. You're out of the door too fast. I think they have an okay time. How do you know? What do you mean? How do I know? I know because they. She makes a gesture with her hands. Yeah, because they. He makes the same gesture back. How do you know they are really? She makes the same gesture. What are you saying? They fake orgasm? It's possible. Get out of here. Why? Most women at one time or another have faked it. Yeah, well, they haven't faked it with me. Okay, how do you know? Because I know. Oh, right, I forgot. You are a man. That's what's supposed to be nothing. It's just that all men are sure it never happens to them, and all women at one time or another have done it. You do the math. You don't think I can tell the difference? No, please don't be ridiculous. Sally just stares at Harry. A seductive look comes on her face. Slowly she laughs into the beginning of what builds to be a wild orgasm. Oh, are you alright? Oh God, oh yeah, oh God, great, yeah, I'm coming. Oh yeah, yes, God, honey, oh my God, oh honey, oh God, thank you. Sally finishes, takes another bite of a sandwich, smiles innocently. Hold on, Harry in shock, and the rest of the customers and the waiters who couldn't help but overhear Sally's performance. Older woman customer to a nearby customer. Basically, this is the place where she says, I want what she's having, and this became one of the most popular dialogues of the film. Somehow it's not written here. Fade in. Exterior, 96th Street, Christmas tree stand day. It's Christmas in New York. Sally and Harry, bundled up against the cold, are standing at the Christmas tree stand on the corner, trying to figure out which one to buy. Sally finally chooses one and pays for it. She and Harry pick it up together, one holding the top and the other the bottom, and start to carry it to Sally's together. Interior, Sally's kitchen day. Sally has a pastry tube in her hands and she's sitting at a table writing names on Christmas cookies with her friend Alice and Alice's 5-year-old daughter Amy. Sally, his name was Raymond Bradley. Don't even bother committing it to memory. I love hearing about horrible dates. What happened? He has an ear collection. To Amy, let me have your hand. Amy puts her hand out as if she was going to be manicured, and Sally decorates her nails while icing. An ear collection. Yeah, he collects ear. He has all these mason jars that are labeled. They commemorate important dates in history, like the March on Washington and the day the Mets won the World Series. He was at these events. Sally has finished manicuring Amy's nails and starts to write Harry's name on a Christmas cookie. Continued. No, whenever something important happens, he just goes outside, opens the mason jar, scoops up some air, caps it, and labels it. Noting Harry's cookie. I don't see why you don't get involved with your friend Harry, because that's just it. We are friends, but if you could be more. No, he is. Shucks, he's what? He's a mess. Then why are you making a cookie for him? He's a nice mess. Interior, New Year's Eve party night. We know it's a New Year Eve because people are wearing funny hats, and there's one of those mirror things hanging from the ceiling and casting twinkle lights on a fairly large crowd of revelers in a large room somewhere in Manhattan. A band is playing. Harry and Sally are dancing. Harry dips her. I really want to thank you for taking me out tonight. Forget it. And next year, forget it. And next year, if neither one of us with somebody, you have got a date. Forget it. And next year, if neither one of us is with somebody, you have got a date. It's a deal. They dance for a moment. He glances at Sally, and for a split second, we see the beginnings of something. An inkling, a little tender moment. Harry, do you want to get some air? If you do, they cross out onto the deck. Do you think the fact that we are friends is keeping us from finding someone? Yes, so I think we should stop making friends. Go home right now and make love. Sally, considering this seriously for a moment, then rejecting it. You don't mean that. You know you don't. And now we hear 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. Everyone kisses. Harry and Sally kiss. It's very awkward. Should it be platonic? Should it be more? They break. It's slightly uncomfortable. Sally warmly, Happy New Year. Harry also warm, Happy New Year. Fade out. Fade in documentary footage, another series of quick cuts of different older couples, each of them sitting on a love seat and looking at the camera. Older couple A, woman A, my mother wanted me to meet him. She knew his mother from church. No, it was my brother who thought of it. Older couple B, my brother said there's a new man at the office and he's very tall. Older couple C, man C, she was going out with my friend Michael. He brought her to my sister's wedding. Older couple A again, woman A, so we are supposed to meet at his brother's wedding. Man A, my cousin's wedding. Woman A, but we didn't because his brother didn't marry that girl. To man A, remember her, the one from the telephone company. Older couple D, your aunt Tess called one night. She just rented the spare room to a nice young man, a dentist. Older couple E, man, I was going out with her sister. I liked her sister all right, but then I saw her. Older couple A again, woman A. So then one day we were all at the beach, Jones Beach, Rockaway Beach, and we met. Exterior, West Broadway, near restaurant, early evening. Sally and her friend Mary walking down the street on their way to a restaurant. Sally, you send flowers to yourself? $60 I spent on this big stupid arrangement of flowers, and I wrote a card that I planned to leave out on the front table where Arthur could just happen to see it. What did the card say? Please say yes, love, Jonathan. And did it work? He didn't even come over. He forgot some charity thing his wife was chairman of. Be it, he is never going to leave her. Of course he isn't. You are right. You are right. I know you are right. What is this place? Somewhere in the next block. I can't believe I'm doing this. Look, Harry is one of my best friends and you are one of my best friends. And if by some chance you two hit it off, we could all still be friends instead of drifting apart the way you do when you get involved with someone who doesn't know your friends. You and I haven't drifted apart since I started seeing Arthur. If Arthur ever left his wife and I actually met him, I'm sure you and I would drift apart. He's never going to leave her. Of course he isn't. You are right. You are right. I know you are right. Exterior, West Broadway, near restaurant, night. Harry and his friend just coming down the street. Yes, I hate myself for letting you talk me into this. And you know I have finally gotten to a place in my life where I'm comfortable with the fact that it's just me and my work. They walk on. If she is so great, why aren't you taking her out? Harry, how many times do I have to tell you? We are just friends. Jess, so you are saying she's not that attractive? No, I told you she was attractive. But you also said she had a good personality. She does have a good personality. Jess makes a precisely my point gesture. What? When someone is not attractive, they are always described as having a good personality. Look, if you had asked me what she looks like and I said she has a good personality, that means she is not attractive. But just because I happen to mention she has a good personality, she could be either. She could be not attractive with a good personality or attractive with a good personality. So which one is she? Attractive but not beautiful, right? Harry glares at him. In restaurant. Harry, Jess, Sally and Mary at a table. A waiter has just brought them drinks. Mary, oh really? Where? Harry, where are you from? Mary, South Orange. Harry, Haddonfield. Mary, I have never been to Haddonfield. Harry, it's nice. Mary, I'm sure it's great. They all look at each other. Then they look at their menus. Harry, so what are we going to order? Sally, I'm going to start with a grilled ready cube. Harry, Jess, Sally's a good order. It's not just that she always picks the best thing on the menu. She orders it in such a way that it comes out in a way the chef had no idea how good it could be. Sally shoots Harry a look. Jess, I think restaurants have become too important. I agree, restaurants are to people in the 80s what theater was to people in the 60s. I read that in a magazine. I wrote it. You did? Just notes. Mary, continue. I never quoted anything from a magazine in my life. That's amazing. Don't you think that's amazing? And you wrote it? Everyone nods. An awkward pause. Yes, I also wrote pesto is the cliche of the 80s. Stop it, really. I read it in the TWA in-flight magazine. The ambassador, the issue with the picture of the two people at a table in a restaurant like this, very pristine, like a hospital. Nobody's ever quoted me back to me. Harry and Sally look on as Mary and Jess start to chatter. Cut to exterior restaurant night. As Harry, Sally, Jess and Mary come out of the restaurant. Harry, that was a great meal. I am stuffed. You want to walk a little? All three respond with sure, sure. Exterior, West Broadway night. They start to walk up the avenue, all four of them in a row, ad-libbing about the meal and what a nice night it is. They walk past a shoe store and Mary suddenly yanks Sally over, ostensibly to look at the shoes. The two men keep walking. Mary, Sally, do you like him? Mary, Harry, yeah, he's nice, but how do you feel about Jess? He seems okay. I couldn't really get a sense of Mary interrupting. Do you think you would go out with him? I don't know. I mean, because I feel very comfortable with him. You want to go out with Jess? Would it be okay with you? Sure, sure. I'm just worried about Harry. He's very sensitive. He's going through a rough period. So don't like reject him right now, you know? Oh no, I wouldn't. I totally understand. Cut to West Broadway night exterior. Harry and Jess. Apparently, in the middle of an identical conversation, they are stopped in front of a running equipment store. Jess, if you don't think you are going to call Mary, do you mind if I call her? Well, no, no, beat. But for tonight, you shouldn't. Sally is very vulnerable. I mean, you can call Mary. It's fine. In a week, you know, after a decent interval. But don't make any moves tonight. Yes, fine. No problem. No problem. Wasn't thinking about tonight. The woman joins them, just continuing. Well, beat. I don't feel like walking anymore. I think I will get a cab. I'll go with you. Great. He leaps into the street as he spots a cab. Taxi. The cab screeches to a halt and Jess and Mary get into it and pulls away, leaving Sally and Harry on the curb. They look at each other. Sally. Hagen Days. Harry, Susan Graje, together, Steve's, fade out, fade in, documentary footage, couple again, woman A. But he didn't pay any attention to me that day. He was hanging around a fancy schmancy girl named Rebecca Draper, and I didn't like him, continued. Man A, and I didn't like her. And that's the truth. Woman A, 6 months later, though we met again at a Spanish Civil War rally. Man A, and the rest is history. Fade out, fade in. Int, the sharper image day, one of those places with gifts for people who have everything. Harry and Sally browsing through. There's a remote controlled blimp, a giant Swiss army knife, etc. Sally, we are never going to find anything here. We should have gone to the plant store. She picks up a pith helmet with a battery operated fan in it, puts it down in disgust. Harry, here the perfect thing. Everyone needs one of these. He turns on one of those machines that allows you to sing the lead to the backup vocal and instrumental on a song. Harry puts in one of the cassettes there. Immediately, the instrumental for the Surrey with the fringe on top comes on. Harry starts singing giddily. Harry, chicks and ducks and geese, better scurry when I take you out in the Surrey. When I take you out in the Surrey with the fringe on top, watch that fringe and see how it flutters. He is really carried away, goes on singing, continued. And now Sally joins in singing too as the absurd and dizzy instrumental continues. Harry and Sally, when I drive them, high-stepping strutters, nosy pokes will peek through their strutters and their eyes will pop. They sing along and they both get more and more idiotic. Suddenly, Harry turns pale and stops singing. Sally continues on for a moment and then notices something is wrong. Sally, the wheels are yellow, the upholstery is brown, the dashboard's genuine leather. The backup music continues as she stops too. Sally, what's the matter? It's my voice, isn't it? You hate my voice. I have a terrible voice. I know Joey hated it. Every time I would sing something, he would say, please don't sing. Harry, it's Helen. What? It's Helen. She's right there, coming right at me. The backup vocal continues as we coming towards Harry, a dark-haired, very chic woman. Helen, accompanied by a tall, attractive man, Ira. Helen, how are you, Harry? Fine, fine, he swallows. This is Ira Stone, Harry Burns. Ira, they shake hands, it's very awkward. Harry suddenly remembers Sally. Sally Albright, this is Sally Albright, Helen Hilson, and Ira continued. Sally, hi, Helen, nice to meet you. A terrible moment. Harry about to faint. Well, see ya. Yeah, bye, Ira. I smile and they move on. Hold on, Harry, about to faint. You okay? I'm perfect. Harry looks like one of those cartoon characters who's been stuck on the head with a mallet. She looked weird. She looked very weird. Didn't you think she looked weird? I have never seen her before. Trust me, she looked weird. Her legs looked heavier too. Didn't you think she's retaining water? Harry, what? The woman saved everything. Scene 75, omit, exterior plant shop day. Sally is paying for a plant. Harry is just staring blankly into a ficus. Sally approaches. Sally, you sure you are okay? Harry, I'm fine. It had to happen at some point. In a city of 8 million people, you are bound to run into your former wife. So it happened, and now I'm fine. Scene 77, omit. Harry, I mean, it was like a catharsis. I looked death in the face and shook its hand, and now I feel great. I really feel okay. Interior Jess and Mary's apartment day. A nice west side floor through with a beautiful fireplace and a great deal of furniture, about twice as much furniture as is necessary. As a matter of fact, Mary and Jess in sneakers, jeans, baggy shorts are clearly in the middle of some sort of dispute as Harry sets down the plant. Sally oohs and ahs about the apartment, the paint job, etc. Harry is still distracted. There are few unpacked boxes. some books, a couple of ashtrays, a glass, etc. Jess, it works for me. It says home to me. It works. Mary to Jess, okay, okay, we will let Harry and Sally to be the judge. To Sally and Harry, what do you think of it? Mary points to a large wagon wheel that's been made into a coffee table with a round plate glass over it. Harry looks at Jess, who is glaring at him. Harry, it's nice. Jess, case closed. Continued. Jess smiles victorious. Mary, of course he thinks it's nice. He's a guy. Sally crinkles up her nose. Mary to Jess, see, what is so awful about it? Mary, it's so awful that there's no way to begin to explain what is so awful about it. I don't object to any of your things. Look, if we had an extra room, you could put it in there with all your things, including your bar stools, and I would never have to say it. Jess strikens. You didn't like my bar stools? Mary looks at him. Of course, she doesn't like his bar stools. Jess turns to Harry for help. Harry, we now see, has sat down in a lone chair by the window and is staring out like a forlorn figure in a Magritte painting. Yes, Harry, beat. Someone has to be on my side. No response from Harry. Mary, I'm on your side. I'm just trying to help you have good taste. I have good taste. Everyone in the world thinks they have sense of humor and good taste, but they don't all. Harry stands up, looks around the room. Harry, you start out like this. He waves his hand at the room. We started out like this. Helen and I, we had blank walls. We hung things. We looked at watches. And you know what happens? 6 years later, you wind up singing Sorry with the fringe on top in front of Ira. Sally, Harry, I know you're upset, but do we have to talk about this right now? What's wrong with that right now? It's a perfect time to talk about this. I just want them to see he's becoming more and more upset. I just want them to see the realities of what this leads to. Everything is fine. Everybody's in love. Everybody's happy. And before you know it, you are screaming at each other about who owns the stereo. He picks up a cracked ashtray. Someday you will be fighting over this dish more. Harry continued shouting now. I mean it. Put your name in your books now while you are unpacking them before they get all mixed up together and you can't remember who is whose. Because someday, believe it or not, you are going to be fighting over who is going to get this coffee table. This is stupid wagon wheel coffee table. Yes, I thought you liked it. Harry is still shouting. I was being nice. Harry slams out the door. Sally looks at Jess and Mary. Sally, he just bumped into Helen. Sally goes out the door, leaving Jess and Mary. Mary, I want you to know I will never want that wagon wheel coffee table. Exterior, Jess and Mary's apartment day. Harry pacing in front of the stoop. Sally comes down the steps. Harry, I know. I shouldn't have done that. Sally, Harry, you have to find a way of not expressing every feeling you have every moment of you have them. Harry, oh really? Sally, yes, there are times and places for things. Harry, well, when you are giving your next lecture series in social graces, let me know. I will sign up. You don't have to get angry about it. I think I'm entitled to a little anger when I'm being told how to live my life by Miss Hospital Corners. You're about to cross the line, Harry. So what? Is that the end of the world, crossing the line? You know what your problem is? You stand too far behind the line. I don't even think you can see the line from where you are standing. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, nothing bothers you. You never get upset about anything. Don't be ridiculous. What? You never get upset about Joey? I never see it back up on you. How is that possible? Don't you experience any feelings of loss? I have experienced my loss. I have had my mourning period. I'm done with it. Harry, what mourning period? 1 hour in Bloomingdale's? You bought a pocketbook and heartbreak flew right out the window? I don't have to take this from you. Sally storms back into the building. Harry follows. Harry, if you are so over Joey, why haven't you been seeing anyone? I see people. Sally storms back out into the street. Harry follows her down the street. Harry, see people. Let me ask you something. Have you slept with one person since you broke up with Joey? What the hell does that have to do with anything? That will prove I am over Joey because I fucked somebody? Harry, you are gonna have to move back to New Jersey because you have slept with everybody in New York and I don't see that turning Helen into a faint memory for you. Besides, I'll make love to someone when it's making love, not the way you do it, like you're out for revenge or something. Are you finished now? Yes. Then I can ask you something. Yes. Do snapping turtles really snap? Is there an audible snap? Do they? Harry, Sally makes her locking her lip motion. She then throws away the imaginary key. Harry complies with the instructions. He then silently points back to Jess and Mary, indicating, should we go back inside? Sally nods as they walk back into the house. Harry starts to speak. Sally makes the locking gesture again. Again, Harry complies. They walk back up the steps into the house. Fade out. Interior, Jess and Mary's apartment night. It's all furnished now, very comfortable, not lavish. A corduroy couch, lots of books and records, a couple of quilts hanging over the backs of chairs, no wagon wheel coffee table. A game of win, lose or draw is in progress. Sally's team consists of Harry, Alice and Jess. Emily, Harry's date, is snuggled up against him. Harry's husband, Gary, Mary and Julian, Sally's date, are part of the other team. Continued. Sally is feverishly drawing what is supposed to be a baby. Jess, it's a monkey, it's a monkey. Monkey see, monkey do. Sally shakes no and keeps drawing. An ape, going ape, it's a baby. Sally notes yes and writes the word baby on the paper. She continues to draw what looks like a big mouth. Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes, she already said it's a baby. How about Planet of the Dopes? Well, it doesn't look like a baby. 30 seconds. Sally now has drawn what looks like arrows on lines coming out of the mouth. Harry and Alice overlap. Big mouth, big baby mouth. Martha Rai as a baby, baby teeth, baby spittle, spit on a baby bird, bird the baby. Baby ape, will you forget ape? It's not an ape. Baby fish mouth. Harry shoots Jess a look. Julian, 10 seconds. Alice, crying baby, feed the baby food. The baby is crying because it's wet and needs to be changed. It's an unhappy baby. That's it, time's up. Baby talk. Baby talk, what's that? That's not a thing. Oh, like baby fish mouth, that's a thing. That's a saying. Final score, our team 110, you guys 60. Julian, that was a lot of fun to Sally. I thought you did great, hun. Anybody for coffee? Ad lib, yes, I will help you. Sally and Mary head towards the kitchen. Jess, it never looked like a baby to me. Where's the bathroom? Down the hall to the right. Emily gives Harry a kiss as she heads away. Sally notices this. As Julian, Alice and Gary recap the game. Jess, you are going to show me the cover art for your new book. Yes, it's in the den. As they go off, interior kitchen, Sally and Mary go about getting the coffee ready. Sally, Emily is a little young for Harry, don't you think? Cut to interior den, Harry. Does Julian seem a little stuffy to you? Cut to interior kitchen. Mary, she is young, but look at what she has done. Sally, what has she done? She makes desserts. Cut to interior den. Yes, he's a good guy. You should talk to him, get to know him. Harry, he's too tall to talk to. Cut to interior kitchen. Mary, it's not just desserts. She makes 3,500 chocolate mousse pies a week. Sally, Emily is Aunt Emily. Cut to interior den. Yes, he took us to a Mets game last week. It was great. Harry, you all went to a Mets game? Yeah, it was a last minute thing. But Sally hates baseball. Cut to in kitchen, Sally, Harry doesn't even like sweets. Julian's great. I know he's a grown-up. I have never been with a grown-up. Cut to interior den. Jess, Emily seems terrific. Yeah, of course, when I asked her where she was when Kennedy was shot, she said that Kennedy was shot. Interior, Harry's bedroom, night. Harry in bed reading, trying not to look at the last page, but finally he can't help himself. As he flips to the last page, the phone rings. He reaches for the phone and answers it. Harry, hello. Sally's voice through filter. Are you alone? Yes, I was just finishing a book. Intercut the following. Sally, could you come over? What's the matter? He's getting married. Julian? No, Joey. Interior hallway. Outside Sally's apartment, night. Harry comes out of the elevator in a hurry. Rings Sally's bell. Sally opens the door. She's wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt. She looks terrible. A big red nose. She starts to cry. Sally, come on in. Harry puts his arms around her. Sally, through tears, I'm sorry to call you so late. Harry, it's okay. She goes on sobbing. Harry holding her. Sally pulls back and gives a huge wheeze. Sally, I need a Kleenex. Sally starts into the apartment. Sally, he just called me up. Just wanted to see how you were. Fine, how are you? Fine? In Sally bedroom, night. Sally enters the room, goes for the Kleenex, blows her nose, then sits on the bed. Harry sits next to her. Sally, his secretary is on vacation. Everything is backed up. He's got a big case in Nevada. Blah, blah, blah. I am sitting on the phone thinking, I'm over him. I'm really over him. I can't believe I was remotely interested in any of this. And then he said, I have some news. Sally starts to cry again. Sally continuing. She works in his office. She's a paralegal. Her name is Kimberly. He just met her. She's supposed to be his transitional person. She's not supposed to be the one. Beat. All this time I've been saying he didn't want to get married. All this time I've been saying he didn't want to get married. Beat. The truth is he didn't want to get married to me. He didn't love me. If you could have him back right now, would you take him back? No, but why didn't he want to marry me? Why didn't he love me? What's the matter with me? Nothing. It's difficult. You are challenging. I'm too structured. I'm completely closed off. Yeah, but in a good way. No, I drove him away. Crying even harder now. I'm going to be 40. When? Someday, in 8 years. Sally, but it's there. It's just sitting there like a big dead end. It's not the same for men. Charlie Chaplin has babies when he was 73. Yeah, but he was too old to pick them up. He smiles a little. Come here, come here, come here, come here. He gives her a hug. It's going to be all right. You'll be okay, Sally. I'm making mess on your sweater. Harry, that's all right. It wasn't one of my favorites anyway. Harry holds her. He gives her a kiss. Starts to break the hug. Sally continued. I will make you some tea. Sorry. Could you hold me a little longer? Sure. Harry holds her. After a beat, Sally looks up at him, almost searching for sympathy. Finally, she kisses him. A hungry, needy kiss. Harry is caught slightly off guard but returns the kiss as they begin to passionately make love. Resolved to. Interior, Sally's bedroom. Later, they have made love, both of them lying in bed. Sally is in Harry's arm. Sally has a smile on her face. Harry stares straight ahead. Sally, you comfortable? Harry nods. After a pause, do you want something to drink or something? Harry, no, no, that's okay. Sally, getting up. Well, I'm going to get up for some water, so it's no trouble. Okay, water. Interior kitchen night, Sally at the sink running some water into two glasses with ice. Hold on her face, a little smile breaks through. Interior bedroom night, Harry lying in Sally's bed, still staring straight ahead. In the room is a stuffed animal of some sort, maybe Sally's old teddy bear, a pink quilt. Hold on his face, petrified. Interior hallway night. As Sally comes back from the kitchen with ice water into interior bedroom night, Harry is sitting up in bed with the light on, looking through a box of index cards. Sally gets into the bed next to him. Harry looking up from the box. You know, you can know someone a long time, but until you go to bed with them, you don't really know they have all their videotapes alphabetized and on index cards. Sally hands him the water. Harry continuing, thanks. A silence while Harry desultorily goes through the box, unbelievably awkward. Every sound is louder than it actually is. The refill of the index card, Sally taking a gulp of water, Harry rearranging his pillow. Sally, do you want to watch something? No, no, not unless you do. No, that's okay. A pause. So do you want to go to sleep? Sure. They turn out the lights. Hold on them lying there. Are you comfortable? Yes, it's apologetically. It's a very hard mattress. I like hard mattresses. Do you want to turn off the light? Sure. Harry flips off the light. Harry flips off the light. Sally, good night, Harry. Good night, Sally. Harry closes his eyes. Continued. Sally's are open. Hold on her. She closes them. Harry is open and hold on them lying there. Dissolved to. Interior bedroom, the middle of the night. Sally fast asleep. Harry wide awake, staring at the digital clock which says 4:06 a.m. Dissolved to. Interior bedroom almost dawn. Sally in bed asleep. The clock now says 5:59 a.m. It clicks to 6 a.m. Sally wakes up, sees the other half of the bed empty. Where is Harry? She turns over and sees him getting dressed. Where are you going? I gotta go. Sally stares at him. Continued. Harry continuing, I have to go home and change from yesterday's clothes into today's clothes, and then I have to go to work, and so do you, and after work I would like to take you out to dinner if you are free. Are you free? Yes. Fine, I will call you later. Fine. Harry gives her a little kiss, walks out, hold on her in bed as a door slams. Next to her is the phone. Interior, Jess and Mary's bedroom. Morning, a bed with two phones on either side. Jess and Mary asleep in bed. The phone on Mary's side of the bed starts to ring. Mary and Jess both wake up. Look at the clock. They can't believe how early it is. It rings again. Jess, accusingly, yours. Mary picks up the phone, puts the phone onto the bed. Mary, hello. Sally, through filter, I'm sorry to call you so early. Mary, are you alright? Sally, I did something terrible. Jess, no one I know would call at this hour. What do you do? What did you do? The phone rings on Jess' side of the bed. Jess continuing answering his phone. No one I know would call it this hour. It's so awful. Jess, I know the depth of our friendship. It's so awful. Implies a call at any hour policy. Split screen now so that we can see Mary and Jess in the bed on their phones talking to Sally in her apartment at the far right and Harry on payphone in the street at the far left. Harry came over last night. What's the matter? I went over to Sally's last night because I was upset that Joey was getting married, and one thing led to another, and he was comforting me because before I knew it we were kissing, and then she shakes her head in horror remembering. Harry, to make a long story short, Sally, we did it. Jess whispering to Mary, they did it. Whispering to Jess, they did it. Mary back to Sally, that's great. Sally, we have been praying for it. You should have done it in the first place. For 4 months we have been saying if only they would do it. You belong together. It would be like killing two birds with one stone. It's like two wrongs make a right. That's right. Jess, how was it? During part was good. I thought it was good. But after I started feeling suffocated, but then I guess it wasn't. Jesus, I'm sorry. The worst. I just wanted to get out of there. It was like he just disappeared. I feel terrible. I'm so embarrassed. You should feel terrible. That's horrible. I think I'm coming down with something. I think I'm catching a cold. Look, it would have been great if it worked, but it didn't. You should never go to bed with anyone. Tell me about it. When you have just found out your last boyfriend is getting married, now you have really cosmic mess on your hands. I know if I call you, it would make me feel better. It's always a mistake. Who's that talking? Who? Is it Jess on the phone? Oh, it's Jane Fonda on the VCR. It's Brian Gumbel. Do you want to come over for breakfast? Do you want to come over for breakfast? Mary and just look at each other horrified. I'm not really up to it. I feel too awful. Good, good. I mean, it's so early. Look, call me later if you want to talk. I will call you later. Okay, everyone hangs up. Sally and Harry vanish from the sides of the screen. Hold on, Mary and Jess. Mary looks at Jess. God, I know. Tell me I will never have to be out there again. Jess puts his arm around her and holds her. You will never have to be out there again. Interior Sally's bathroom. Day. Sally looks at herself in the mirror as she puts on makeup. I will just say we made a mistake. In Harry's bathroom. Day. Harry's jobbing in his own shower. Sally, it was a mistake. Interior Sally's bathroom. Day. As before, I just hope I get to say it first. God, I know. Tell me I will never have to be out there again. Just puts his arm around her and holds her. You will never have to be out there again. Interior Sally's bathroom. Day. Sally looking at herself in the mirror as she puts on makeup. I'll just say we made a mistake. Interior Harry's bathroom. Day. Harry's showering in his own shower. Harry's voiceover. Sally, it was a mistake. Interior Sally's bathroom. Day. As before. Sally's voiceover. I just hope I get to say it first. Interior Harry's bathroom. Day. Harry is still showering. I hope she says it before I do. Interior restaurant. Night. As the waiter brings Harry and Sally drinks, both of them take a gulp. It was a mistake. I am so relieved you think so too. Both of them take sips of their water. Harry continuing. I'm not saying last night wasn't a physically pleasurable sexual experience. It was. Yes, it was. We never should have done it. I couldn't agree more. Sally nods. A pause. I'm so relieved. Me too. Harry nodding. Sally nodding. Well, that's that. The waiter brings the salad. They start to eat. They eat. Silence. We hear the folks against the plates. More silence. Harry continuing. It's so nice when you can sit with someone and not have to talk. It just shows how really comfortable you are. Hold on the scene as they go on eating in silence. Hold, fade out, fade in. Documentary footage. Another older couple on a love seat. Woman, what happened was I went to the movies, a matinee of It Happened One Night, and just as the scene where Claudette Colbert hikes up her skirt to get a ride, the projector broke. If that projector did not break right then, I would never have been on the 3.13 trolley heading home, which I was. And who would sit next to me but my friend Louise? She says to me, let's go get an ice cream soda at Walgreens. We always went to Walgreens. So we get there, we sit down at the counter, and I say, let me have a black and white. That's a chocolate soda with vanilla ice cream. And you know what the guys say to me? We are out of vanilla ice cream. How can you be out of vanilla ice cream? So Louise says, order something else. But my heart is set on a black and white. So we go over to the Armstrong soda, where you should know I never went in my whole life before or since. So there we are, drinking my black and white, when who would walk in but my brother's friend Stanley, who has just bought a new car. A Duesenberg. He tells me, come to the street and see it. So there I am, looking at the car. When who would come up but this handsome man, indicating the older man beside her, who says that's a beauty. What kind is it? A Duesenberg, I tell him. Beat. So if wasn't for a broken projector, I would be sitting here talking to you alone. I was just walking down the street. Exterior Central Park, Bethesda Fountain. Day. Harry and Jess fast walking along. Harry, it's just like most of the time you go to bed with someone and then she tells you all her stories and then you tell her all your stories. But with Sally and me, we had already heard each other's stories. So once we went to bed, we didn't know what we were supposed to do. Continued. Sure, Harry, I don't know. You get to a certain point in a relationship where maybe it's just too late to have sex. It's sort of like incest. Cut to interior department store dressing room. Day. You can see Mary in her underclothes, Sally in a chair. Is Harry bringing Emily to the wedding? They broke up. Is he seeing anyone? He was seeing this anthropologist. What did she look like? Thin, pretty, big tits, your basic nightmare. So what do you think? Mary is trying on a very traditional white wedding dress with a train and a veil. Oh, Mary, tell me the truth. It's just beautiful. You don't think it's silly? I mean, white. Sally, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Sally's eyes start to well with tears. Continuing, wiping her eyes. It's just so beautiful. Fade in. Interior, Puck building. The wedding afternoon. The wedding. Winter wedding with pine boughs and holly. Mary in her wedding dress with a gorgeous bouquet of flowers coming through the door of a small banquet room with her father and Sally, who is the maid of honor. A chamber music quartet is playing something by Mozart as they all come down the aisle to a judge who is standing at the head of the aisle next to Jess and Harry. His best man. Harry looks at Sally as she comes down the aisle. Sally looks at him for a moment, looks away. Int, Puck building, wedding reception, entrance and kitchen afternoon. A band is playing. Sally is talking to an older couple who excuse themselves. As they do, we see Harry approach her. Harry, hi, hello, nice ceremony, beautiful. Sally is clearly uncomfortable. She is going to behave like someone who simply is not going to get involved or even pretend interest in the conversation. Continued. Harry, boy, the holidays are rough. Every year, I just try to get from the day before Thanksgiving to the day after New Year's. Sally nods. A lot of suicides. Harry nods. Sally nods. A waiter comes up with a tray of horse de overs. Would you like a pea pod with shrimp? Sally, with all the warmth she hasn't been showing Harry. Thank you. She takes one. How have you been? Fine. A pause. How is everything with Julian? Sally looks at him. Harry, what? I don't want to talk about this. Cutting him off. Okay, Pete, is it because of what happened? I don't want to talk about it. Why can't we get past this? I mean, are we gonna carry this thing around forever? Forever? It just happened. It happened 3 weeks ago. Sally looks at him disbelievingly. Continuing, you know how a year to a person is like 7 years to a dog? Yes, Harry throws up his hands as if it's self explanatory. Sally, continuing, if one of us supposed to be a dog in this scenario, yeah, who is the dog? You are. Yeah, I am the dog. Yes, I am the dog. People are staring to notice the intensity of the conversation. Sally is really furious now. She starts toward a large screen that's a few feet away from the end of the room, thinking they can get some privacy if she gets behind it. I don't see that, Harry. If anyone is a dog, you are the dog. To you, this is something that just happened, and you think you can say, great, it happened. Now let's get back on with it. We'll go back to the way it was, like what happened didn't mean anything. They reach the screen, but there's no getting behind it. There are folded chairs and the bass players' bass cafe and the drummers' drum suitcases, etc. Sally reverses and starts towards the door out of the room. Harry follows. I'm not saying it didn't mean anything. I'm just saying, why does it have to mean everything? Because it does, and you should know that better than anyone, because the minute it happens you walk right out the door. I didn't walk out. I know sprinted is more like it. We both no, but we both agreed it was a mistake, the worst mistake I ever made. They go through the door Sally was heading for, and now they're in the kitchen. Waiters are banging by with trays, dumping glasses into the sink, opening champagne, etc. Harry and Sally shouting now over the din. It's always the same. It's always the same. The minute you make love with someone, the expectation starts. First of all, I'm not someone. Second of all, I don't expect anything from you. Okay? Bullshit. You expect me to know how to behave with you now. You don't have to behave anyway with me now. Fine, let's go get one thing straight. I didn't go over there that night to make love to you. That's not why I went there. But what was I supposed to do? You looked at me with those big VP eyes. Don't go home tonight, Harry. Hold me a little longer, Harry. What are you saying? You look pity on me? Fuck you. Sally slaps Harry across the face, then busts out of the kitchen with a stunned Harry right behind her. Interior, Pug Building, wedding reception day. The entire wedding party is assembled around the bandstand. The band is playing some kind of musical riff that signals that attention must be paid. Sally comes to a stop. Harry is just behind her. There's a crowd of guests assembled in a knot with Jess and Mary. Their arms around each other, standing there with their champagne glasses. Jess is in front of the microphone. Yes, I want to propose a toast to Harry and Sally. The entire crowd turns towards the two of them. Yes, to Harry and Sally. If Mary or I had found either of them remotely attractive, we would not be here today. Everyone laughs and raises their glasses to Harry and Sally. Mary takes her wedding bouquet and lobs it into the air straight at Sally. For a moment, we think that Sally isn't going to make a move for it. She's just going to let it land on the floor. But at the last moment, she reaches out and catches it. Hold on her. Music here. Christmas in New York. Everywhere you look, twinkly lights and happy children and people carrying home big presents and Santa Clauses ringing bells on the street corners. Exterior 96th Street Christmas stand day. Sally in jeans and plaid jacket has just brought her Christmas tree and the salesman has finished putting plastic netting around it. Sally starts to carry the tree. It's very heavy and the top of it is dragging slightly behind her and she's leaving a little trail of pine needles behind her as she starts home. But she's going to carry this damn tree home alone if it kills her. As we watch her carry the tree home, we hear a beep on Sally's machine. Harry's voice over. Hi, it's me. It's the holiday season. This doesn't mean to be my holiday, but I thought I might remind you that this is a season of forgiveness and charity. So if you felt like calling me back, it would make me a very happy person. More. Cut to Sally's apartment day. Sally listens to her machine as she puts away groceries. Harry's voice continuing. Hello, if you are there, please pick up the phone. I really want to talk to you. Interior, Harry's apartment day. Harry is pacing around his living room, phone in hand. Harry continued, Pete, I will take this as a sign you are not home, or else you are home with that cretin you have been dating. And if he's there with you now, please understand when I say cretin, I mean it in the best possible sense of the word. Interior, Sally's apartment day. Sally not picking up. Harry's voice continued, you there? No. Okay, well, call me back. Beep, hold on. A still upset Sally. Cut to exterior street hot dog stand day. Harry and Jess are stopped at a hot dog stand. Harry, obviously she doesn't want to talk to me. What do I have to be? hit over the head. If she wants to call me, she will call me. I am through making a schmuck out of myself. Cut to interior Harry's apartment day. Harry singing on the phone. The backup using machine is going. If you are feeling sad and lonely, there's a service I can render. Tell the ones who loves you only I can be so warm and tender. Interior Sally's apartment day. Sally enters carrying shopping bags. Harry OS continued. Call me. Don't be afraid. You can call me. Interior Harry's apartment day. Harry singing into the phone. Maybe it's late, but just call me, and I will be around. In Sally's apartment day. Give me a call. Beep. Sally just stares. Finally, she picks up the phone. Hi, Harry. And cut back and forth. Hey, hi. I didn't think you were going to. Hi. What are you doing? I was just on my way out. Where are you going? Cut to. What do you want, Harry? Nothing. I just called to say, what are you going to do for New Year's? Are you going to the Tyler's party? No response. Do you have a date? Because I don't have a date. And if you don't have a date, we always said if neither of us had a date on New Year's, Harry, I can't do this anymore. I'm not your consolation prize. Goodbye, Harry. She hangs up. Exterior Times Square night. A tight shot of Dick Clark. We pull back to reveal interior Harry's apartment night. Harry's lying in bed eating pistachio nuts watching Dick Clark on television. Harry voiceover. What's so bad about this? You have Dick Clark, that's tradition. You have Malumas, the greatest cookie of all time, and you are about to give the Knicks their first championship since 1973. Harry aims a weighted piece of paper, a wiffle ball at a basketball hoop over the door to his bedroom. He misses. He looks back at the television set. His mind drifts and we push in on his face, and now we see New Year's Eve, a year earlier. Harry and Sally are dancing. Harry dips Sally. Sally is laughing and we hear her voice. Sally voiceover. Do you think the fact that we are friends is keeping us from finding someone? Harry voiceover. Yes, so I think we should stop being friends. Go home right now and make love. You don't mean that. You know you don't mean that. Interior Harry's bedroom night. Harry thinking about what just went through his head. Harry, air. Air would be good right now. Interior New Year's Eve party night, a great big New Year's Eve party just like the one we were at a year earlier. The mirrored ball is twirling, twinkle lights on everyone's face. Sally dancing with a tall man. He dips her, she's appalled. Upright again, she catches Mary's eyes as a tall man sweeps her about the floor. Mary's dancing with Jess. Sally, I don't know why I let you drag me to this. And she's dipped again. Continued. Exterior downtown street night. Harry walking down the street past shop windows. Harry voiceover. That is good. This is good. This is good. New Year's resolution number 1. I gotta do this more often. Window shopping, all the fun and none of the expense. He passes a couple. The woman is laughing. Push in on Harry's face. We see Harry and Sally in the temple of Dender. Pepper, 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 pepper. Sally is laughing over it. We hear Harry's voiceover. I think you should wear skirts more. You look good in skirts. Sally voiceover. I do? Yeah. Exterior downtown street night. Harry, more agitated by his thoughts, he walks into an ice cream store in New Year's Eve party night. Sally is laughing merrily at a joke some man has just told her. Mary passes her by. Sally turns her face quickly towards Mary, her face quickly passing from happiness to anguish. Sally mouthing her words, I'm going home. You will never get a taxi. Sally turns back to the man who told the joke, the smile replastered onto her face. Cut to exterior Washington Square night. Harry is walking along the same place he was dropped off by Sally 11 years ago. He has an ice cream cone. Harry voiceover. This was a good move. It's 10 degrees out and the wind chill factor in my mouth is a million below and I am eating ice cream. A wise choice. He dumps the ice cream in a trash can. He stops and looks up at the arc. And you see the scene in Washington Square 11 years ago. Harry and Sally are saying goodbye. They shake hands awkwardly. Sally voiceover. Well, I guess we are not going to be friends then. Too bad. You were the only person I knew in New York. Have a nice life. Exterior Washington Square night. Harry back in reality, thinking about what just happened in his mind. He feels the cold and turns his collar up, then starts walking slowly away from the arc. We stay with Harry as his pace starts to quicken and finally ends with him running down the street. Interior New Year's Eve party night. It's almost midnight. Balloons, confetti, the mirror ball spinning slowly around. The excitement in the room builds as we approach midnight. We see Sally with a group of friends, including Jess and Mary. Sally going for her coat. I am going. Mary, it's almost midnight. I can't stand the thought of not kissing somebody. Jess, big deal. I'll kiss you. Thanks, Jess, but I have to go. Exterior street night. Harry is still running, looking for a cab. He can't find one. He keeps running. Interior party night. Sally at the closet, putting on her coat. Exterior street night. Harry is running down the street. Interior party night. Sally is kissing Jess and Mary goodbye. Mary, wait 2 minutes. I will call you tomorrow. She turns to go. She stops dead in her tracks. It's Harry. Slowly, he comes towards her and stops in front of her. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and the thing is, I love you. What? I love you. How do you expect me to respond to this? How about you love me too? How about I'm leaving? Sally turns and walks off, parting the crowd. Harry follows her like a terrier. Doesn't what I said mean anything to you? During the following, we hear the countdown to the new year, after which everyone breaks into Happy New Year, confetti flies, everyone is kissing and breaking into all long saying, Sally, what is it supposed to mean? I am sorry, Harry. I know it's New Year's Eve and I know you are feeling lonely, but you can't just show up here and tell me you love me and expect that to make it all right. I mean, what am I supposed to say? Great, Harry, you love me. That settles everything. Now we can waltz off into the sunset together. It doesn't work this way. Well, how does it work? I don't know, but not this way. Beat, Harry. How about this way? I love how you get cold when it is 62 degrees out. I love the way your mouth turns down just a little bit right here. Right there. I love how it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I even loved when you use my sweater for a clinics. I love it that after spending the day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. I love you. I love how you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. It took me 11 years to figure this out, and I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with someone, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. Sally, furious. See, that's just like you, Harry. You say things like that and you make it impossible for me to hate you. Almost in tears. And I hate you. I hate you, Harry. I hate you. She starts to cry. Harry puts his arm around her. They kiss. A long kiss. A twinkle ball goes around. Twinkling. They go on kissing. All Lang sing continues in the background. Harry, my whole life I have never known what this song means. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, should old acquaintance be forgot? Does that mean we should forget old acquaintance, or does it mean if we do happen to forget them, we should remember them, which is not possible because we forget them? Maybe you are just supposed to remember you forget them or something. Anyways, it's about old friends. They start to kiss again, and as the camera pulls up away from them, the first time we met, we hated each other. Sally, voiceover, you didn't hate me, I hated you. Beat, the second time we met, he didn't even remember me. Harry voiceover, I did too, I remember you. Long beat. The third time we met, we became friends. Sally voiceover, we were friends for a long time, and then we weren't, and then we fell in love. A couple on a love seat. Harry and Sally together, looking at the camera. Harry, 2 months later, we got married. It was a beautiful wedding. Yeah, we had this incredible coconut cake with a very rich chocolate sauce on the side. Yeah, you know, because everybody doesn't like sauce right on top of their cake. And as they continue on, we fade out. The end. Thank you for listening to this screenplay. I made this screenplay many parts because it was very difficult for me to read this in entirety, and it was my first attempt at reading loudly a screenplay and making a video out of it. So I hope you liked this video, and if you liked it, please do write, share and comment to it, and do let me know how you like it so I can make more screenplay talkings. Okay, bye bye, good night.